Hello and welcome to episode 293 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
The Wall 77 Club on Facebook and Instagram, at 77 Club Podcast on X, formerly known as twitter.com, and we're on Spotify and YouTube. Please subscribe.
Jack Williams is here.
Good evening, everybody.
And Dan Bayliss.
Good morning, in case you're listening tomorrow.
Excellent.
Well played.
Today, can you listen in the future? Let's have a look at the team, Harry. 2-1 it finished at Anfield on Sunday. Sarr in goal, Doherty, Agbadou, Totti Gomez, Semedo, Andre, João Gomez, Aït-Nouri, Sarabia, Cunha and Guedes. Give us your thoughts to begin with, because I thought we deserved something from the game, but we got nout.
Yeah, the team, I did a match preview on my channel, and that's the team I wanted to play. But in hindsight, I think it was the wrong team, because Sarabia and Guedes were really poor first half, in my opinion. And obviously, as we know, when Bellegarde and Menezes come on, we just dominated the second half. So obviously, everyone's a genius in hindsight. But yeah, the changes were massive at half time. First half, although obviously Liverpool went 2-0 up, everyone knows that the main reason was because the referee had an absolute nightmare for me. Should have given out a few more bookings before he booked Canate for them stopping the counter-attacks, cynical fouls, booking our players for protesting. Agbadou gets pushed in the back in the build-up to their penalty. And there's a few others I'm probably forgetting in that first half. So, yeah, we was against bloody 12 men first half. And I'll be honest, I could not see that second half come in. So you've got to give a bit of credit to the lads and a lot of credit to Vitor for changing it. And we went there. And I think I said last week on the podcast, it was a good time to be playing them. They'd just played Everton. They've got another midweek fixture coming up. They could have done without it, really. You know, heavy favourites against a struggling Wolves team. All the pressure was on them. And it's one of those guys that's hard to get motivated for. And it was a very flat atmosphere from the way it come across on telly anyway, listening on telly. And we had to put up with Jamie Carragher being biased as well. So as a viewer, it was a horrible watch that first half. And he's tearing me hair out. But yeah, fair play, good response second half. And I'd say it's a point dropped. I think we more than deserved a draw in the end.
Jack, when we were talking about the BBC coverage last week and saying it wasn't very good, I think Sky's coverage is usually a lot better. However, I have to agree with Harry here, is that having Jamie Carragher on comms for Liverpool matches when it's not maybe with Gary Neville and it's Manchester United is a complete waste of time. He's totally biased. He calls everything for Liverpool and then sees about one replay and goes, oh, maybe not. And then sees another one, he goes, no, it wasn't. And he's just to and fro in. He's the mouthpiece of the liver bird, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, there was one moment that sticks in my head, particularly, I think it was in the second half, where we got a corner. And it was one of the most blatant corners I've ever seen. And he called it as he didn't think it was a corner. Watched the replay, it was clearly a corner and still said it wasn't. So I was like, what do you do with that? Like, he's got so many screens in front of him and the same eyes as everybody else. And he's still sticking to his guns. So, yeah, I mean, away from the commentary is what it is. But that first half, well, firstly, I think our performance in the whole game, I didn't think the first half was that bad at all. It was just really difficult given the fact that what we were playing against. And it was one of those where I think there's a couple of things. Liverpool, I think going into this fixture, particularly being at home at Anfield and, you know, the Golden Boys, they just know that they can get away with a fair bit and they utilise that very well. And they just do all these fouls all the time. And they know, particularly in the first half at home, they're probably not going to get pulled up and punished for it as much. And at the same time, I think on the other hand of that, we were quite naive. There was a few times where we should have just thrown ourselves to the floor where we didn't, and we were a bit too honest. And then it gave them the opportunity for the ref to sort of play away on. But that first half was one of the most one-sided refereeing performances that I've ever seen in my life. I was genuinely angry at half-time, not because we're losing, because you point to the goals, you can say that they were kind of our mistakes. I know the push in the back is going to be a talking point, for Liverpool's their one goal, but it was just bizarre in the fact that nothing was going our way. These things weren't given. And has there ever been a team that has had 3 bookings, if you include the booking that was given to the manager, to Pereira, 3 bookings in the first half, but none of which were actually for committing a foul? It was just bizarre. It was actually so strange. The team that was persistently fouling was not the team getting penalised at all. It was going the opposite way. And it's just absolutely bizarre. It's like, I suppose it's like if you're at school and some kid punches you and the teacher goes, well, what did you do to him? It's blaming the victim rather than actually, trying to police the situation. So, you can't go to Liverpool and a team like Wolves, we can't go away and have to also play against the ref. It's just honestly bizarre. But yeah, it's 2 bookings for protesting. One because obviously it just went like that, and then walking on a tightrope then, and Liverpool know that, and there's instances where they've dived to try and get then players' second bookings that haven't been pulled up and stuff as well when you think about that. And yeah, just frustrating. And I was genuinely angry at halftime, like not so much with our performers, but just with what we were up against, because it was just so biased. And it was going back to the original question, which was about Carragher. Even Carragher, through his Liverpool glasses, was kind of hinting the same thing. He was like, "Oh, there's a few here that's a bit dodgy. That's a bit like that." So if the most biased sort of co-commentator in the business against his own team is saying some of this is a bit dodgy, that's how bad it must have been. So I'm pleased with the way we played, particularly the way we responded in the second half. Like to come out after that, where the players must have been so frustrated, because I was so frustrated. I mean, Pereira would have been absolutely fuming because you could tell by the fact he got booked. But to go out and then respond in that way, and the best team in the country, if not Europe at the moment, limit them to not even having a shot in that second half, and to force them to have to dive around to try and win stupid penalties. I'm really pleased with that. But at the end of it, I don't think we quite got what we deserved. And with a bit more rubber the green and a bit more smartness from us in the first half, I think we probably could have. But overall, I'm pleased with the performance. But the standard of refereeing was just absolutely atrocious. It's like they don't even want to cover it up anymore.
Dan, what do you think about Simon Hooper's performance? I mean, it's probably the first time in quite a long time that we've spent a long time regarding the podcast talking about a referee performance. I just want to get your assessment of Simon Hooper.
I don't think I can give a thorough assessment. It would get us cancelled on many platforms. It's just shocking, right? Just so bad. I think the other thing that sort of got it for me is that penalty shout, and the whole point of VAR is, if that had been the other end of the pitch and it had been Wolves given the penalty, he would have run to the screen, seen a nudge in the back. Even though I still think it's penalty, I think a good striker outmuscles a defender, gets in, all that sort of jazz. But they would 100% have turned that over. And I think that sums it all up for me. But I just can't believe these referees are not trained in the capacity that they know they're going to these big stadiums, Liverpool, all over telly. I think there's something in it where they know they've got to give the decisions one way rather than the other. And
I think the big problem here for me is that when he goes to the screen and the penalty decision gets overturned, why he doesn't book Jota for diving, because it's one of those instances where it's been overturned. He's clearly dived because he hasn't given the penalty and he hasn't been booked. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. Let's have a look at your comments. Deborah the Zebra says, we need a win soon. I'm very concerned we'll be relegated. Stephen says, I'm concerned about the goals against. Maximus says, I heard a Liverpool fan say we deserved a point and both teams should have been on 10 men. Don't know about that, but what a lot of people agree on is Hooper did a shocking job. More angry Harry videos, please. Harry, you've put in the rolling ticker message along the bottom of this podcast on YouTube. Is Simon Hooper the worst balls referee? Let's have a look. I mean, is the fact that he's got no hair anything to do with his performance? I mean, it's quite a good question. We were trying to think of some referees who are bald, who may be worse. We reckon we've got a list.
Yeah, he's the worst one. Who do we come up with? Uriah Rennie, was it?
Uriah Rennie.
Lee Mason.
Lee Mason. Yeah. Howard Webb was the best one if you want to go on the other end of the spectrum. But no, bringing it back. He was brilliant.
Kalina, yeah, brilliant, yeah.
He had some eyes on him, didn't he? Give you the stare down.
As well,
yeah. No, just going back, I think the big ones, obviously, I agree with Bayliss. I think it was the other end of the pitch, and say Van Dijk got pushed in the back by Cunha and then goes down. I think it's not given. I think it's overturned. I agree with Bayliss on that one. Konate got away with murder, not being sent off. Should have got a second booking. But put for literally wiping Cunha out. And then, funnily enough, Agbadou gets booked for protesting that one, as Doherty did. a few, 10 minutes before. And then Diaz tries to dive when he ran past Agbadou, trying to get Agbadou a second yellow, cheating. And he don't get a yellow for diving Diaz, even though it clearly was, because he didn't give a foul. And yet Jota should have been booked for diving for when the VAR overturned that. But the worst part about that was that Agbadou got injured in the process of that slide. And if you're to believe reports from the Express and Stir, he could be out. He could be out for 3 to 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. But we'll see what Vitor Pereira says Friday, because if you take what the Express and Star says, he'd probably be starting Saturday. I'm joking. I'm saying it in jest. I can't help myself. They're shit. So the ref was horrendous, and the second half, luckily, we were brilliant, but we just couldn't get that extra push, could we, to get that equaliser? It was so close, and to see a team top of the league chasing for the title, hanging on and throwing themselves to the floor to try and waste time, just a lot of credit to the Wolves players for that, because we had them on the ropes and they were scared.
Neil says it's a tough job being a journo. No, it's not. It's a tough job being a good one, certainly. Jack, I think we went toe-to-toe with them. I thought we did very well. It was the moments of madness, I think, for the goals. I don't really think much of Sarr. I'm not really his biggest fan anyway. I thought his kicking throughout the game was absolutely atrocious. And when you're playing against the referee and your goalkeeper's got that sort of distribution up his sleeve, it's only going to go one way, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really watch that and call out Sarr too much, really. I didn't think it was his worst performance that he's had for us. Definitely, certainly not this season or in recent weeks. But, it's not helpful when you are trying to relieve pressure if your kicking's a bit off, which obviously did happen on a couple of occasions. But I can't really single anyone out as being, in these sort of circumstances, given how well we responded. And I'm right with what Harry said earlier. Guedes and Sarabia were ineffective. I put my foot in my mouth by saying I thought Cunha was off it again, and then 2 seconds later he scores his goal. So I can't talk really, but that moment of magic did really help us. And there was just that one moment, wasn't there, quite near the end, where I don't know how the Liverpool defender got back, but when Tommy Dore put that ball in, and his reaction was then just goal. That's it. We've got it now. We just need to see out the last few minutes. But somehow
it was one hell of a tackle.
Back. I mean, it was incredible defending, to be fair. And I think then from that point we sort of knew that the chance was gone. So yeah, going back to what we were saying about the referee, the Diaz one is the one that wound me up the most. That's the one that made me walk to the shop and get some beers at half time, because I was just absolutely fuming. The fact that he's dived to try and get his players sent off, and there's just no punishment at all, despite the referee knowing it's a dive because he hasn't given the foul. The other thing that really wound me up towards the end is the fact that the referee blew the whistle only 25 seconds after the injury time had finished. 28 seconds, sorry. I was watching that in real time, and I was thinking, right, well, there's been a substitution here, and he's already warned them about time wasting in his 6 added minutes. There's going to be at least 1 or 2 minutes added on here, but the first chance he could get, despite warning them about time wasting and doing that, he just blows the whistle anyway. So he wanted it just done and dusted, and Liverpool get the 3 points so he can go home happy. But it just shows absolutely no bottle, and just honestly, just topped off. I mean, we've had some bad refereeing performances, particularly as Wolves fans, with some of the calls that we've blamed on VAR or whatever. But, I don't want to sound like sour grapes, but that is the worst that I've seen, particularly in that first half. It was so one-sided. He should be ashamed of himself.
Bayliss, I know we're hammering referees at the moment, but we're not sending them death threats or anything like that. Do you think the backlash that Michael Oliver got off the back of the Merseyside derby and playing all the extra time that I think was right to play in the grand scheme of things had an influence on the decision to play what was essentially 28 extra seconds rather than maybe what Jack and everybody else probably on the podcast was pushing for, which is more towards the 90 seconds, 2 minutes era?
Well, that's obviously a very tough question, Sam, because as we know, Scousers are always the victims. So in the Liverpool versus Everton game, that was incredibly difficult because they were both a bunch of Scousers.
That's very true.
So yes.
What do you think, Harry? Do you think that has an effect on people? You know, there will be the referees union, as there is with most walks of life when you do that sort of job and you're under the spotlight in the way that Michael Oliver was for the Merseyside derby, and that probably anybody that plays against the top teams in the Premier League, the most watched league in the world, etc. Do you think that would have an influence on it?
Yeah, I think so. He'd probably come across as mind. I think if it's at Molineux and that Canate challenge happens, he gets the second yellow. I think because it's at Anfield and they're going for the title, that's got to be in his mind. Like even the Arnie Slot said after I took him off because I knew he shouldn't have been on the pitch. I just want to get Tom Lewis' comment up here. I'm just going to click it up. He put ENS might be right for a change. Even a stop clock is right twice a day, referring to Agbadu being out for 4 weeks. What they've done, Tom, is they've seen him holding his hamstring after the game and just put two and two together. They've got no inside knowledge, but we'll find out Friday at the press conference. So yeah, Agbadu probably will be out for 3 to 4 weeks, but they haven't got any inside information. They're just guessing, like everybody else does. So on the refs, I think there's a lot of unconscious bias going on. A lot of people claim it's definitely corruption, but I just think it's poor refereeing and very heavy subconscious bias. And then when he eventually did book Canate, he then bottles it for that second yellow. And like Jack said, 28 seconds after the added time, second half was a joke as well. But I just want to talk about Manetzi and Bellegarde, or especially Manetzi. Like he's basically played up front for us twice now. We signed him as a midfielder. He goes through one-on-one. Like to be fair, he's been getting a lot of unjust stick. I think he got hammered online after that miss. Although I thought it was a good save, and he's not a striker. You know what I mean? He's just like kind of filling in there without Larson and Wang about. And Bellegarde's little flick through to him as well. The difference those two made, fair play. So I mean, Bellegarde, the turnaround from him has been unbelievable, and he really did change it. That little flick he did to Cunha as well to set him up for when he eventually put it into the bottom corner. Unbelievable stuff. And Manetzi was causing so many problems. Like you said at the end, Doyle put it across the 6-yard box and he was there for a tap-in. That would have been an amazing Premier League debut for him, wouldn't it? But I think them two are knocking on the door for starts now.
I'd agree with that. Would you, Jack? I mean, it's obviously got a new signing in Manetzi and what seems like a new signing in the sort of rejuvenation of Bellegarde, really. You wouldn't have seen it coming, even a couple of weeks ago, sort of having this conversation and stuff. But it's really good to see. I think Manetzi's been out in the press this week saying how welcome he feels. Sort of, maybe Harry's just in the depths of the bog that is Twitter at the moment in terms of the negativity on it. But I think he's had a pretty good reception. The fans, certainly in the stadiums, have been given rapturous applause, and you just want to see players try and do the running. And obviously, as Harry said, he's not naturally a centre forward, but I think the difference between competing at the top of the league and not is largely, for me, down to your goalkeeper, and Alisson is top quality.
Yeah, I mean, I did call him Manetzi Frankowski after he missed that one-on-one, but that was combining what happened last week at Blackburn as well, because there's been quite a few in very sort of a short turnaround. But if you put on his sort of minutes played to big chances ratio, it's going to be super high, isn't it? Because he's getting in great positions. So
you're talking about his XG, is that what you're talking about there?
Well, I suppose just the fact that he 2 substitution appearances and he's been getting in great positions. And the Frankowski joke was because he's obviously not scored yet when he really should have scored by now. But it's early days. He's obviously got to settle. But I wasn't expecting him, not that I knew much about him before, but I was not expecting him to be playing this far forward. Whether this sort of thing will continue once like Strand Larsen's back, you don't know. But fair play to him. It's asking a lot to sort of come on and under that pressure slot one past Alisson, as like you say, because he's such a good sort of keeper in those situations. But you've also got to take your chances. I mean, if you want to get into the Liverpool, because we put ourselves in that position by being 2 goals down. I know the referee was against it, but you can also, as I say, point to the mistakes in the first half, which ultimately led to those goals. So a difficult one, but it's promising, isn't it? It's so much better than it was under Gary O'Neill, even though the results took a little bit of a blip. And I honestly didn't think we performed as well as we did against Liverpool. I had us down for a 3-0 loss. And 2-1 when you're playing against 12 men, there's no shame in that at all. So I just hope that we can then do these sort of similar performances against the next run of games. We've got the likes of Bournemouth, these sorts of things. So there's hope there, and I'm just happy that we've gone away to a top team, kind of like we used to do under the Nuno era, and compete and cause some problems. And that's it, really. I think that was kind of a free hit, and the performance says a lot. And I was pleased with the performance, just really angry with some of the other aspects which weren't Wolves related. What
I loved as well is Vitor did exactly what he said in the pre-match pressure. Vitor was like, "We ain't going there to sit back. We're going there to have a go." And it's very refreshing to see a manager say that And then we actually did it, particularly second half. Just something that's come to my mind as you were talking, Jack, and it's a good question for you. So you go to the most away games. I did a video on it because everyone on X, Twitter, I know you two are not on it, but the away fans who go all the time were saying that they've never seen such a bad Wolves away end. Loads of half and half scars, loads of Liverpool fans somehow getting tickets, and loads of people, basically tourist fans, filming Salah the whole game. You went to Chelsea a few weeks ago. Is this just the norm now in the away end at Wolves for tourist fans, half and half scars, things like that? How the hell is this happening?
I wouldn't call it the norm, but I've not really experienced that. I think the only places you probably would experience that is the likes of Liverpool and Man United. I think it's probably, if there were people getting tickets sort of second hand who are actually Liverpool fans or tourist fans, whatever, it's probably the fact that it's at 2:00 on a Sunday that's on Sky Sports means tickets are more likely to change hands. That's a big factor. But if anyone is passing them on or selling them on for a profit to away fans, like the club have the facilities to be able to see whose ticket that was and where they were sat and work out who's been doing it. And, you know, in my opinion, they should get banned. It's disgraceful. But I wasn't there on Sunday. I didn't go. So I don't know if it's as bad as you're saying or what we've read on the internet or anything. But I haven't noticed away fans being in the Wolves end very much at all, to be honest, from my experience. But nobody want to go to a Monday night at bloody Chelsea anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see that. So yeah, I can't. It's not something I've seen that much of firsthand. You'd usually think if there were tourists in there, they'd usually get a good kicking, wouldn't they? But maybe those times have changed.
Molineux games, the Arsenal game, there were so many Arsenal fans in the home end all around the stadium. It's getting a lot more common at Molineux when we're playing big teams. A lot of the away fans being in the home end because they can't get tickets in the away ends. I think it's just more and
sell
more.
it out, Harry.
Well, when we
That's
do,
true, yeah.
like it's because of the price as well, isn't it? So season ticket holders are thinking, I can double my money here. I'll sell it to my Arsenal mate for 80 quid instead of giving it back to the club and getting 35 when they sell it on for 60, whatever they do. So yeah, it's a mad one, isn't it? Because the atmospheres are getting shitter. And the away following, when I've gone in years gone by, usually we've got one of the loudest away followings going, but by the sounds of it, it's starting to dilute a bit, and the away fans are just sat on their hands most of the time at the moment.
It was tough watching, particularly under O'Neill at the start of this season. Some of the games there were definitely flat. I think the ones that stick out as being quite good were Arsenal, even though, you know, it was because it was early on in the season. Everyone was full of hype. And the Fulham away one, but obviously we played really well that day. They stick out as being good ones. But I agree. I think some of them this season have been a bit flat.
Definitely. Neil is calling me out. He says it's X, not Twitter. Neil, I'll take you for a marathon bar and some maple fruits. Bournemouth away next at Dean Court. I don't like change. Harry, it's going to be deja vu, isn't it, over the next couple of weeks? Bournemouth twice, away twice. Bournemouth have won 3 of the last 4 Premier League games against Wolves, losing once, though all 3 victories have come away from home. How would you set up against this one? And if the Express and Star are correct and Agbadou is out, who is going to take his place? We haven't seen De Giga yet.
Yeah, it could be him, but I think most likely it'd be Santi Bueno because he came on, didn't he, at Anfield for Agbadou when he went off injured. I want to see Menezes in there. I'd drop Sarabia. Whether Menezes would be like a false 9 or whether he'd drop a little bit deeper and sit in front of Andre and Gomez and have Cunha and Guedes up there, or Cunha and Strand Larsen, because I think Strand Larsen has been training now, but whether he's fully fit to start is another question. And look, I can't believe, looking at the table, that Bournemouth are 5th. I really can't believe that. That's actually quite shocking because I haven't really been taking notice, so they've kind of snuck up there, but fair play to them. Just shows, doesn't it, with a bit of backing and a bit of know-how, you can get up there. Jeff Shee, you wanker. So, yeah, I think it's a tough ask, isn't it? I know we haven't lost there in the Premier League ever, I don't think. I know we lost there in the Championship, but we won there last season, didn't we, under O'Neill 2-1? I remember winning when Martinho scored the one year. We all had good trips there in the league.
I'll give you the stat, Harry. Wolves are unbeaten in all 4 of their Premier League away games against Bournemouth, alternating between a draw and a victory each time. It's their most away games against an opponent without ever losing in the competition's history. So what does that tell you, Jack?
3-0 Bournemouth.
Correct. Yes.
Everything comes to an end. No, I know Bournemouth have had a great season, haven't they? And like Harry said, the fact that they're they're even in with the shout of, top. They were temporarily top 4, weren't they, at some point over the weekend, as the results were rolling in and sort of changing. So, we've seen, difficult team, but the fact that the way we performed lately against Villa and then subsequently against Liverpool, we just go into it again with no fear really, and try and cause some problems. It does take a little bit of the spark out of it when you're playing a team, particularly twice at the same ground within, a week and a half or whatever. It's a bit of a does kill it a little bit. And I know we spoke last week about whether we'd rather win the league game or the cup game. And to be honest, the position we're in, I stand by it. I think if we can get anything on Saturday, it's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, we'll see.
Bayliss, are you shocked by Bournemouth being 5th in the league? And they've lost just one of the last 13 Premier League games, winning 8.
Is that what it is? Wow. No, I think they've been superb. So fair play to them. They've been a really good side.
They've not lost consecutive league games at the Vitality Stadium since October 2023, and the second of which game was against Wolves. So there's really sort of, I wouldn't call them historical omens, but it's sort of building up to be quite a tasty occasion.
Yeah, I still think they're playing too well for us to go there and get a result. But we have always played well there historically in front of all 15 people. So it's.
Would you make any changes, Jack?
Yes, definitely. So, do we know how long Strand Larsen is? Do you think he's probably a bit too soon for him? Or
he was back training
2 meters
Saturday. He was back training Saturday, so he's what day is today? He's been training the last 3 or 4 days. Just
because I love him, that's all. But so yeah, I think Sarabia and Guedes left a lot to be desired. Obviously, the fact that they changed. So I think what you don't want to do is basically bring in Bellegarde, bring in Venezzi, and then bring in Santi Bueno if Agadou's injured. That's it, really. That's what I'd do. Go with the stuff that sort of shone through in the second half against Liverpool. And if you have to force a change, then we'll have to do it. I agree. I think Bueno will be the pick because he's not done too much wrong, really, has he, this season?
I think that's why I'm so optimistic going into it, just because how good we were second half against Liverpool. It might be sugarcoating my thoughts, but it begs the question as well. If Agbadou is out for 3 or 4 weeks, if his hamstring has gone, it looks a very silly decision now not registering Craig Dawson, doesn't it? Not registering at all. If Santi Bueno crocs his leg now, all of a sudden we're like, Dawson, fancy coming back in? He can't now, but yeah,
Mr. G, he's obviously seen something in him that means that Dawson has missed out, because otherwise you would look at that 25-man squad and go, yeah, okay, that seems about right. If you've got to make the decision, then fair enough. But yeah, no, it is an interesting one. Let's do a score prediction starting with Harry.
Yeah, I'll stick with what I said on my preview video on my channel. You're going to laugh at me. I'll go 3-1 Wolves.
Okay. Jack?
1-1.
1-1. Oh, there's a little bit of hope.
A little bit of positivity there, yeah.
Yeah, I like
that. 2-0 Bournemouth.
I knew that was coming. I knew it. You just could feel it.
It'll probably rain. Paul says 2-1 Wolves. Max says 3-1 Wolves. He's agreeing with Harry there. Neil's playing a 3-5-2. Let's get some bets from Bayliss.
You won't.
Oh, can I just say, I was fucking fuming the other day because I had loads of bets on, essentially. But the one that came in was Agbadou to have a shot on target, a couple of other things, and then 8 Nori to have 1 shot on target. And him and Tommy Doyle were stood over that free kick in the Liverpool game. And I'm like, fucking, here we go. 200 quid in the bag here. And then fucking...
Agbadou had a shot on target. I can't remember that.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah, first half. Yeah.
Sorry,
Dan.
It's still a little bit early because of the Premier League game on tonight and all the Champions League stuff, but Wolves are 4-1 with most bookies. So if you do fancy us going there to get something, you can go for a myriad of different bets and you're going to get top value.
41 Wolves 4-1. It's a sign, Harry.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm having 100 quid on Wolves to win and a tenner on 4-1 Wolves.
Free money. Someone put 20p in Dan and see if we can get started.
Sorry, I was closing down the bet now.
Oh, was that it?
Better calm down for a second.
Is that you done? Excellent. Right, okay. Aside from our who's the worst bald referee? And no one said Anthony Taylor, and he's actually number 3 in the list of the most yellow cards this season with 74. But top of the list with 93 from 19 games is Michael Oliver. The question that I want to finish on, and everybody in the comments can get involved with this, I saw it earlier, is who has the worst Premier League badge? Because we're playing Bournemouth, and I think they're certainly up there. I want you to have a think about Ipswich is a good shout, but the one that sprung to mind for me was Brighton. I think it's shocking. Harry, do you have any thoughts on this? I'm sure you've done a video on it at some point.
There is a weird story to it, and I can't remember what the story is. I've never understood Tottenham's badge. It's like a cockerel.
It's a chicken, yeah.
Yeah, and then the founder of Tottenham, when he's chasing a chicken round, you're going to have to Google it. It's the most bizarre reason why they've got like a chicken or a cockerel on their badge. I remember looking at it once thinking, why have Tottenham got that? Because they don't come out, do they? Going, we are the chickens, we're coming for you, or anything like that.
Isn't it a cock and ball?
Yeah.
Come on, go on. Has anyone got a laptop in front of them? Google it. Why there is a funny story to it. It's something to do. Well, that I think.
Tell me about who you think has got the worst Premier League badge, and give me like a fair amount of time in an explanation to see of where does Tottenham's.
I've got the answer, by the way. I've got the answer. So Tottenham Hotspur's badge is a cockerel because the club's namesake, Harry Hotspur, was a fan of cockfighting, according to Google AI. So yeah, it's to do with
like a blood sport to get you excited.
Who knew his name was Harry Hotspur? I might have to change teams here. But yeah, I don't like Tottenham's. I can't think of Brighton's. I can't think of Brighton's, Sam. What's wrong with that one?
It's just a seagull on the side view of a seagull.
It's just a seagull,
flying, isn't it?
Man United have changed their badge this year, haven't they? They have on their shirt. They have that old-fashioned devil one.
You know what's not great? Everton. It's like a little castle thing.
Fulham the shout as well. I don't think
Fulham's just numbers, isn't it? It's just letters. Sorry, numbers. Just letters.
Fulham shit. Maximus says. I can't think of Fulham.
I mean, Bournemouth is pretty. Bournemouth is crap, isn't it? It's just got a. It's red with a football. I think
West Ham's is the worst. Their old one used to be so much better than what they've got now.
It's all been diluted now, isn't it? With logos and stuff, they've all been just completely rid.
It's the New York Yankees thing, isn't it? So when the Yankees branded themselves outside of sport into fashion, they had that simple logo, and now everyone tries to copy it. So all the logos are as simple as possible.
I don't think this is necessarily just like team bias, but I if ours isn't the best, it's up there.
I think it's the best. It's easily the best. Yeah.
Like literally, Americans support Wolves just because of the colour of our kit and our badge, don't they? So that's the appeal. A lot of people and kids love the badge. Definitely, it's got to be. Even the old one, the very old Wolves badge before the Wolves head, like the one that's on the lamppost around Wolverhampton. The
coat of arms.
Coat of arms. Yeah, that's good. It's just come to me when you mentioned Everton. Have you seen all the footage of their new stadium going around the last few days?
Yes.
People are buzzing about it, saying
it looks impressive.
Well, people are saying it's going to be the best ground in the country. But for me, I think it's a shame we're losing another historic ground. Upton Park, West Ham's old one, was an amazing ground. Their new one's shit. Everton, although it's very old, it's when it's rocking, we're just losing it. These historic ground, I'd hated it if Wolves moved. If we lost Molineux for a new bowl stadium, I'd hate it personally, but each their own, isn't it?
I didn't realise how far the new Goodison Park was away, because it's about 2 miles, isn't it? It's actually quite
the docks.
Yeah, it's right on the docks. Yeah,
good location, to be fair. Really good location, but I don't know. It'd be a shame to lose the Goodison.
Do we know what's happening to the site? Do you know, Bayliss? The old Goodison site, is it going to be flats, we assume?
It'd be flats like Highbury, wouldn't it? And the old West Ham one.
It's not in London, mate. I don't know anything about it.
Highbury, they've still got like the stand up, haven't they? The flats that are there.
Yeah.
You can't be asked tonight, can you, Danny? Do you want to go?
Dan's playing chess on the side, isn't he? You switched off.
I'll give you 4 to 1 balls and you can all piss off.
Where the new stadium is, I can't find it.
Sorry for keeping you, mate.
Dan's actually looking at bets for cockfighting now. For our newfound pastime.
Can we talk about Gabby Petito, Jack? Should we just talk about that for the last 10 minutes? Talking about the Netflix documentary.
I've lost control of the guests.
That's what we were talking about before we went live.
We'll leave that for another week. Get in touch if you've seen that documentary. I mean, Harry and Jack would love to have a chat about it over a couple of beers. It all seems. But we will say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Yeah, rest in peace, Gabby Petito. You should have been treated better than that. See you, everyone.
It's goodbye from Jack Williams.
Can't follow that. Goodbye. See you later, everybody.
It's degenerated.
It's down
You
to the
didn't get
wake.
Dan to say goodbye, did you? Ironically.
I'm still here. Sorry, lads. I was trying to get the missus to sort out the 250 quid bottle of champagne from the fridge.
Which one?
Out of context, people just think that's true now because it's you.
Yeah, it's a goodbye from me. Goodbye.